Hello and thanks for tuning in to hear our conversation today with Tony Asghar, Sporting Director, and Robbie Neilson, Head Coach of Dundee United FC, who just last week won promotion to the Scottish Premier League. My name is Eric Mackley and I'm the General Manager of WorldStrides Sports Division. Our Starting 11 series is based around conversations with some of the top minds in the world of football with a specific interest around leadership, culture and their coaching journey. I've known Tony for 36 years from our early days of playing together, and on a recent visit I got to meet Robbie for the first time. With 30 years of law enforcement and sports agency management experience behind him, Tony brings a wealth of experience to the club. Combine that with Robbie's 20 plus years at top level in the game, and it seems like a fantastic fit. Robbie and Tony, welcome and huge thanks for joining us. How are you guys today?
Thank you. All good. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Fantastic. We are looking forward to good old conversation today, and just to give you a quick insight and snapshot, Tony. Yesterday we had David Moyes on the show, and today we've got Peter Martin. My first question is, what game does that make you think of?
Well, that's definitely that's the game at Wembley. We've got to think of England, Scotland that we're all at together, and that weekend was, in fact, it was 4 days, wasn't it? Quite 4 days of stories with those two guys.
It was a very long weekend, and the first thing I remember, Tony, is we got tickets for the wrong end. If you remember, there was 7 of us, all in our kilts and our William Wallace face paint, planted in the middle of 35,000 England fans, which just didn't end well.
Well, listen, it ended well for Peter and David, because David got the job at Everton soon after, so I think he was quite happy with that one.
But some memories, and certainly going to bring some of that up today with Peter as well. But firstly, certainly this is a first for me, is having a conversation about football with one guy with a Masters and one guy with nearly finished his Masters. So I'm feeling pretty intimidated just now. Robbie, how are you doing with that? How's the coursework going?
To be honest, it's been enjoyable, Eric. You know, like, it's funny, like I met Tony. Well, I knew Tony for a number of years previously, but Tony came when I was at Hearts manager, and there Tony came and did a few interviews for his dissertation. So I kind of got him into the process of thinking about it. And then obviously when I came to Dundee United, we spoke again about it, and I decided to go on it because I'd done it's like you do the B licence, the A licence, the Pro licence, and I'd done it all by the time I was like 34, I think. Right. So I thought to myself, I need to go and try and do something else. So it was a great opportunity. And when you go down there, you know it's like football. Football. It's the same story all the time. It's the same week every year. Next thing you're 6 months down the line. So getting away for a couple of days has been great. We've got guys from cricket, rugby, governments, different businesses as well. So you get to speak about different things, and you come away from it a wee bit more energised. You know, and initially I felt I was taking the eye off the ball a wee bit, and I found it a bit hard. But the more I do it, the more I realise that it's good to get away from the football. You know, give a wee bit of different perspective. It allows you to come back invigorated and ready to go again. So it's been great. The assignments are difficult. Tony will vouch for that. You know, it's like going back to the classroom and having to do. I just put in a 2,500 word assignment a couple of days ago. I've got another one due in about 3 or 4 weeks. So that's been difficult. But the get together with the group has been brilliant. Really good. Really enjoyed it.
And Tony, I know you absolutely loved that experience and having Robbie doing it, and I think Lee McCulloch's doing it as well. Is that been good for you to collaborate with them? You know, the famous old saying sometimes is you're too busy working in the business to work on the business, and sometimes there's a wee chance to step outside the business and do some reflecting and development.
100%, Eric. I think for me it was because this was a specific master's degree in sport and directorship and creating a new sports executive or sporting directors of the future. That for me, it's changed my business head. It allowed me to go and progress to where I am now and being a sporting director at a professional club. I think the interesting thing was, and I said this in a talk the other day, when I did my dissertation, it was about the role of the sporting director and how, because the UK doesn't have them. You know, in the US, you have general managers in all sports, across all sports franchises. Here, we're very limited to the head coach being in charge of a lot of things. And as I saw through my research, the head coach was becoming, it was too much for them to allow them to concentrate on Saturday to Saturday. So the lucky thing for me was that I was able to, as Robbie says, I had a long conversation with Robbie. We talked about all things sports director. He'd worked with one before under Craig Levine. We talked about our vision and values. So at that time, unbeknownst to both of us, we were almost doing an interview to how we're going to collaborate later on. And as soon as we came to the club, it was a tick the box scenario,
And Robbie, you were already in place when your new owner took over, and Tony came in shortly thereafter. And I think just to get it started here, I think the exciting thing probably for both of you is you're a bit of a blank slate. You were given the autonomy to say, here's a blank slate. There's a new owner come in. You got their vision. And how was those early days for both you and Tony as you got this machine up and running? As obviously you were both doing a lot of brainstorming and trying to create the vision. I'm kind of directing that to both of you, I think.
I think from my perspective, I came away from MK Dons in the previous January, I think it was, and I knew coming back up to Scotland I wanted to pick the right project. I think it was the right club and the right feel. So there was a couple of jobs that came up over the summer in the top flight that I got asked to go and speak to, but I decided to knock them both back because I knew there was things happening in the background at Dundee United, and I thought it was a great project to get involved in, having played there for a brief period as well. I was there for about 8 months towards the end of my career. So I knew the club, knew the potential of it, knew the situation it was in. So when I came in, I was in probably, I don't know, about a month or something, and then Tony and the owners came in, and from there it was great because we knew what we had to do. We were coming up to a January window as well, so it gave us the opportunity to invest in the team, and not just the short term, but getting guys in, like Tony spoke about at the start, long term view. We've got guys now who allowed us this season to get promoted, and hopefully they'll carry us forward as well. So it was a really exciting time to come into the club because they were at probably at an all-time low.
Yeah.
New investors coming in, sporting director coming in, which is something I really enjoy working with. I did it when I was at Hearts and had a lot of success. I went down to England, didn't have a sporting director, so it was all myself. And like Tony touched on there, in my opinion, it's almost impossible for a manager to run everything now.
Yeah.
There's so much. The business is so big now. You've got academies, you've got the commercial, the corporate. To have a sporting director makes it so much easier. You can focus on the Saturday. So everything, there was so many things that ticked the right box for me. It was a great project to get started on.
And Tony, just for your fit, obviously you oversee the whole football side of the operation. Again, just going back to the kind of blank slate analogy, and I know you came from the business side. What an exciting project for you to get in on at the very start.
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you earlier, I was lucky because the owners, who are American-based, had an idea to buy a European football club. I was involved in that process, so I knew exactly what they wanted. And they'd asked me to put together a 5-year performance plan, 5-year business plan. So right up when you've got this blank canvas, if you like, and you can say, look, these are the ideas. I believe there's a lot of mismanagement in football in the UK. Yeah. And there's a lot of positives, but there's a lot of things. Managers move very quickly. They get sacked very quickly. Clubs find them in financial turmoil. So there was scope to have almost a different innovative model for us to try and bring in with new, fresh ideas from American businessmen. So that was, again, something Robbie and I spoke of. And I think, in sports in the UK, this model of hierarchy charts where you have a sporting director above a manager who's above the assistant, we've tried to be a bit more collaborative with this blank canvas. And Robbie and I sat down and said, well, the sporting director and the head coach can set the new Dundee United culture. We can set the new structure and how we want to look at things, so that in the event that both myself or Robbie or both of us leave, that they have some sort of form of identity.
Yeah.
I think there's a thing in UK football as well, this traditional, everyone talks about tradition. And one of the things I spoke to the owners about before, I use Liverpool as an analogy. When Kenny Dalglish was the manager, he bought a lot of British players, Andy Carroll, Charlie Adams, Stuart Downing. He left. Suddenly, Brendan Rodgers comes in. He brought in more, flair players from South America, different style. He left, and then Jurgen Klopp brings a high pressure type of player, very physical. We're using pace. Now, that's great for the fans in some respects, but they don't have any identity. They don't know what they're watching. Yeah. And if they're changing everything every 2-3 years, not for the better, I might add, because it's because there's been a problem, then we felt that we wanted to get some sort of form of identity on the playing field that Robbie can see, on the identity of the type of players we recruit, and give the fans, almost what is this Dundee United way, what it's all about to be part of a club. So, you know, we've been 14 months at it, but that blank canvas has got to be collaborative across not just myself and Robbie, but the board, the staff, the stakeholders, you know, and that's what we're trying to work towards.
Yeah, and just as you mentioned, Tony, American businessman Mark Ogren took over the team in December 18, and you know, and you look at the American sports and the landscape and what it represents here in the US, but you also look at the American influence now in Scotland and in England, and you know, how has that been for both of you? You know, and maybe Tony more so in the business side, because you know, is certainly you're working closely with owners who maybe have an American vision, you know, that they want to instill some of the pizzazz of what US sports is. How has that been for you, bringing it into a Scottish mentality?
Honestly, that's a great question, because the reality is the culture of American business people and European business people is totally different. You know, Americans and the Ogrens have come in and been quite clear they want to make money from this franchise. Yeah. And just like other American owners that own other football clubs throughout the UK, that's definitely what they want: success, but they also want to try and make it as a business model. Whereas maybe previous owners have come in with the heart and the sleeve type scenario that you know, it's all about, and they spend, the emotion takes over the business head. Yeah. So for me, we have a sort of strict policy, a strict business model that I think is going to be more effective. Yeah, listen, we have the passion, we have the, you know, we want the games to be played, we'll kick every ball, but ultimately, you know, we have to sustain it as a business. So that was really attractive to me, working with American owners who have that sort of philosophy. They're not saturated with the traditional values of football. Yeah. And I think that, you know, that comes right through to all our sort of staff, and trying to explain to them that this is how the model is going to be. So that said, we don't want to make it a diluted or a disinfectant type scenario that's very sterile. You know, we still have to have that passion. So it's blending the both is sort of on the key part of that. Yeah,
and just taking on for there, Robbie, can you get, you know, and it's always great to watch, you know, two leaders working together. Cause at the end of the day, it's up to you and Tony to drive the football vision. You know, it's your responsibility and it's on your shoulders. I think from that respect, can you describe your personalities and how they complement each other as the front men and the leaders of the football side of Dundee United?
Well, I think we...
Or maybe they don't complement each other.
I think we have a lot of similarities in our character, I think. You know, we both, with the master's degree highlights that, you know, we both, I know I'm certainly, probably Tony will speak for himself on it, but I hate the idea of like the same old, you know, yeah, doing the same thing in 10 years' time. Yeah. You know, one of the reasons I left Hearts as a player was I was there for 10 years and I thought, I can't stay here I need to go and try something different. And yeah, even as a manager, I was at Hearts and I wanted to go and try England. You know, so it's that, wanting to try new things, bringing new things into the club as well. You know, I think we've both got that type of character. We're trying to innovate. You know, we don't want to be the same as every other club in Scotland, because even in Britain to an extent, because it's, you know, at times it can be, why are you doing that? Oh, we're doing that because everyone else is doing that. Oh, we're doing that because that's what we did 15 years ago. Yeah. So why shouldn't we do that? Yeah. So I think we both have that character about us. And I also think that one of the things about it is we probably both make decisions quickly. Yeah. Which, if you're leadership yourself individually, if you make decisions very quickly, it can have some good points, but it can also have some bad points. But I think because we're both similar in that way, and we're both quite strong characters, if I make a decision and Tony's not sure about it, he'll say to me, and vice versa. And it kind of slows us down a wee bit where we go, right, well, I think this. And I know from my own perspective, when I was at MK, I didn't have a sporting director. It was me making all the decisions. I made a lot of bad decisions because I was reactive. I would go, I want that done, to get that done. And in hindsight, if I'd had somebody like I've got now who would say, maybe think about something a wee bit different, or maybe do it this way, then it slows you down and it allows you to, you know, make better decisions. Because I do, when I look at it, I think that if it was solely me making all decisions, or solely Tony making our decisions, the decisions we've made as a pair, it wouldn't have been as good as what we've made as a pair. I hope that makes sense.
It totally makes sense, Robbie. And I think that the great part that leads into, back to you, Robbie, is you know, you're still a young coach, fairly young coach that's working your way through the journey. And I think the question for you to follow on for that, Robbie, is what excites you? You know, what gets your juices flowing every day, and what excites you for the season ahead, and what motivates you, and what drives your inner being?
My big excitement for the season ahead is it's preparing the players and making the players realise that they can compete at the highest level. Yeah. You know, I know there'll be players that think they can just now, but they need to prove it to themselves. The guys that are unsure, you know, so my job is to help them by preparing them for games, analysis, getting the team together, getting the spirit together, to make sure that when they go into the top flight, they can perform, and they can, because I've got belief in them already. I know they can do it. I've made the jump when I was at Hearts. We won the league, kept the majority of the same team, went up, ended up first season we finished up, so it can be done. Yeah. But you have to help the players get there. So I'm really looking forward to getting back a good pre-season and building the team spirit, building the belief, and taking the team forward. Because there's guys there that I think that, you know, they can play at the top flight, no problem at all, and they can perform really well at the top flight. Yeah. So that for me is the exciting part of it.
Fantastic. Tony, can you just give an insight a little bit to the culture and the kind of leadership infrastructure that you've instilled at the club? Because I know, you know, even talking to you through the recent times, is you've certainly tried to instill a new vision, a new strategy, a new infrastructure, a new culture. Can you give us a little insight to that?
Yeah, I think when we first came in the club, and as Robbie said, he came slightly earlier, there was a big disenfranchised with the fans and the club. They'd been relegated, and they were 3 years still within the lower division. They're a huge club, they're huge expectations. So externally, we had to get buy-in from the fans, and that was the first thing to do. That is to try and get Robbie to build a team they're going to like and they're going to have affinity with, which he's done. With regards to how we lead as a club internally, the biggest challenge has been probably, you know, the football side. We were quite radical in our changes when we first came in January. We think we got rid of 14 players, brought in 15, something like that, within a month. So we changed the whole football philosophy. Robbie started to implement his philosophy with these new players. So the football side was taking his side. We changed over a lot of personnel over that first 6 months period. With regards to the culture, it's interesting because we're actually, both Robbie and I and the coaching staff are working together and trying to create what is our culture, what is our identity now. Yeah. Because we knew it was going to change. The championship, we needed a different type of, we're almost like a dogs of war. We were the biggest club with the biggest budget. So really everyone expected us to win every game. Where we're going now is we can't change that culture of being the small club back in the top league and look on us as if we're one of the whipping boys, if you like. So we have to install a form of, as Robbie's alluded to, the belief in the players, belief in the staff that we are a big club ready to go toe-to-toe with the big boys. And that will come down to how we talk, how we address the staff, how Robbie addresses the players, our perception is to the supporters and the type of players we're buying. That always has a massive culture identity to it. So I think that's going to be our biggest challenge coming through next year is going to be saying, look, you know, everyone's going to say, well, Dundee United have just been in the championship for 4 years, and we're saying, well, no, we're here to go toe to toe with you, and we'll see how that goes. But the belief is something really, it's really the major part for us to install right through the organisation.
And I think one of the challenges for you, Tony, also, and you and I talked about this as well prior, is, you know, you look at Dundee United and you immediately think it's a possible sleeping giant, you know, from what it was in its days in the 80s and the early 90s, competing in European competition, playing against Barcelona in the Camp Nou. And I think that was one of your challenges as you came in as well, Tony, is you know, it was yesteryear and you know, there was a feeling of the good old days as you came in and you wanted to, you know, reinvigorate that energy for, you know, what lies ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the stadium was full. Robbie will allude to that as well. It was all pictures of the 80s and 90s, which in modern times there was a really successful club. You know, we're the only club ever beaten Barcelona, never lost to Barcelona in a competitive match. I think they played 4 times and beat them out or drew with them. You know, we have a culture there of the club, and one for yourself. We were, you know, Dundee United was was part of Dallas Tornadoes in the late 60s and 70s when the old United Soccer League was just before the NASL. So Dundee United took a team over and played in as Dallas Tornadoes. So there's a big US connection. But yeah, we had, during the success period, everybody wanted to talk of that because everyone will always grab onto my club back in the old days. So yeah, that was a huge challenge, as I said. But what we need to do is try and create our own heroes in the part. This year, Robbie signed Lon Shanklin, who's scored in excess of 25 goals already, for the season. Got a Scotland call up. We've had young players called up to the 21s. Robbie got a player, Pavel Safranko, last year into the Slovakian national team. So we're trying to create our own heroes. We're trying to put the pictures up everywhere so that people see them. We're trying to use social media to start talking about what we're doing now rather than the past. But that said, we don't want to cut that away. It's a huge part for fans, and as our demographic of supporters around football, a lot of them are older. But what we need to, and what we're seeing now in Dundee is all the kids wearing Shanklin 24 jerseys, which is fantastic for us. And those are the wee catalysts that will allow us to sort of grow and change the image of the club.
Yeah. And just jumping back to Robbie here, and moving in the US direction, certainly a large majority of our group are US based here. And obviously you've brought in 2 American players, Ian Hart and Dylan Powers. How have they done for you, Robbie?
The two of them have done really well. Have adapted well to initially when one of my previous clubs I brought in Perry Kitchen.
Yeah.
So Perry was US international. I think.
Hearts, yeah.
He's at LA Galaxy or one of the two just now, Perry. So he was the first American player that I brought into the teams in Scotland, and to be honest, he was excellent for me. Took him a little bit of time to adapt, and Ian and Dylan are the same. I think Ian came in January, I think it was. He came in and we felt that it took him a little bit of time to adapt to the Scottish way or British way of playing.
Yeah.
Ian was more of a sitting behind in front of the midfield, just popping it about side to side. We've tried to turn him into more a box-to-box player because initially found it a little bit difficult with the transitional way of the game in Scotland. It basically means a lot of teams bang it long and it's knockdowns, it's second balls. So he's taken a bit of time to adapt to that. I would say Dylan has adapted quicker, but I think that's because he was more of a defensive midfield player. Dylan is more of he thinks in the what if as opposed to what could happen. So Dylan's adapted very well to it. But the two of them, great characters, which is you generally get from players from America. Work extremely hard. Listen to what you have to say. Try and implement it for you on the pitch. So it's a market that Tony and I have spoke about regularly about trying to tap into it because there's good players out there. Financially, they're good for us as well because it's not too expensive to bring some of them in. So the two of them have been great. I've been pleased with them. I think Dylan's still here. Ian's away back to the US for a couple of weeks with his girlfriend. So I've been pleased with the two of them.
And I think, Tony, just to follow on for that question there as well is obviously going back to the American owners and the American players. Now that there's a bit of a probably more so than any other club in Scotland, there's an American feel to it with the owners, a couple of players, and now there's a bit of a footprint. Obviously, there's some American ownership at Aberdeen and various other places. What do you foresee, Tony, with the possibility of expanding your horizons to these shores?
Well, that you and I were going to America back in the 90s when we first went out. We went to the soccer conventions there every January.
Yeah.
You obviously stayed and did fantastically well for yourself. But, we both said at that time that US soccer was booming and it was going to be something major. And that's always resonated with me. And I've followed it very closely over the years. First of all, we've got a volume of players. That's the first thing. There's so many players playing the game. So right away, you've got a lot of expats. You've got a lot of people who are the culture of US sports is that they want to win, whether it's high school, whether it's ODP, regional. Everything's all about getting selected. Everything's all about winning. And in the UK and in Europe, we're coming away from that. We're getting an all-inclusive type of youngster coming through that everyone gets the same. So that's always been attractive to me and the type of person you're getting. They want to be better. we definitely see that as a marketplace for us at Dundee United. And again, the American owner is really just an addition to that. But the reality is we see that the mentality we're getting, and also because the MLS is grown in such a great capacity now that they're looking at a foreign influx of players. So the players coming out collegiate are now becoming, well, there's good players there. Maybe they aren't going to get to the MLS, so we've got an opportunity to, we use this term, nick them out, so we can nick them out. And they want to come across. They've done really well in Germany and Sweden and, Scotland, with the exception probably of Perry and Kitchen that Robbie had and the guys at Rangers. There's not been many clubs have looked at it, so we want to be, and again, with our network over there, it's something we look at. We've started an international academy. We did a trial basis. We took a young high school player over to come and live like a pro for 3 months. So he lived in the digs with the young professionals. He did his online schooling, and he actually, a couple of times, he trained with the first team. He was actually brought up to do some crossing and finishing. So he went away, and he's looking to come back for 6 months. Now, the reality for this kid is he probably won't be getting a professional contract. But at 16, 17, he can come, he can serve a year to get it on his CV, to go back into the college system in the US, maybe get himself a better school. So we're looking at all these methodologies to try and create something. And also, from a club perspective, global branding is huge now. We want to dip our foot. In fact, the owners that were in before had touched on trying to get a club in the new NISA League or the USL League. Yeah. And I think going in the future, that's something we would definitely, and the owners would definitely want to have a look at.
And that's certainly something, for example, that Glasgow Celtic have talked about. And that's been talked about for a number of years. And you look at the Celtic footprint over here, you look at the Celtic brand over here, and you also look at a number of other large brands and large clubs that have got a footprint here in the US. And for a progressive, forward-thinking American-owned club like Dundee United, it would just make sense to try and have, make inroads in this side of the water. And you've certainly proved the success with both players. And I don't think there's many others that have really kind of broken the barriers, because both players have come in and had a massive impact.
Absolutely. And I think, you're right about the sort of the commercial value or the partnerships with clubs. And, the MLS is growing so much, it could be that they're buying us rather than we're looking to buy a smaller club there. But, it's funny because Brian McBride took over the role with the US Soccer. We've had lots of chats about the two players. So they see the benefit of, obviously, the US Soccer wants to promote their own players through a system. But, playing in Europe can give the national team a bigger opportunity as well. So, look, I think it ticks a lot of boxes. We definitely need to, we want to collaborate. In fact, myself and at the end of the season, we planned a trip for the team winning the championship to go to Vegas. Yeah. And one of the directors had booked it. And after every game, Robbie and I got the music on Viva Las Vegas. So the boys had it every home game. So unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we've not been able to do that. But part of that, the staff were going to go and do some trips to various sports franchises we'd organise, start learning new methods, start creating new networks. But hopefully we'll try and do that in the future. I was going on the Vegas trip though. That was
of course you are, just for staff development. And I think to that point, just to finish up the American piece, Robbie, as you brought in as one of your assistants, Gordon Forrest from MLS, who was at the very top level in MLS. He was a number 2 at Vancouver Whitecaps and had been very entrenched in that world. I know that you two didn't really know each other before. And how's that been for you, Robbie? Has that been new and different and fresh? And
yeah, well, I've really enjoyed it. Gordon's background was he was a SFA coach ed. He played kind of lower level in Scotland. Yeah. Did SFA coach education, ran that. Then he went to New Zealand to run the coach ed there. Yeah. Was in I think it was the London 2012 Olympics. He took the team to there as well. So he's got a great CV. Was at Vancouver as the assistant manager for 7 years with Carol Robinson. So when I came back up from MK, I decided to get a new staff round about me. I just again felt I needed a wee bit of a newness, to start again and different ideas. So I was actually interviewing another coach, and the guy who put me in touch with this guy said, "Look, speak to Gordon." So we met within about 2 or 3 minutes. I realised he was at one. And it ended up, actually, I was trying to convince him to come because he had an option to go back to the SFA.
Right.
You know, as we know, the SFA, it's a pretty steady job. You know, you're not going to get the pressure of day or week to week, having to win games. So I ended up having to convince him. So Gordon's come in and he's brought a lot of experience from MLS, you know, a lot of analysis, a lot of detail, a lot of individual work. Right. And also from a recruitment side, he knows all the players out there. He's got loads of contacts. So when Ian get put to us and Dylan, you know, Gordon did quite a lot of background on them. All the feedback was good. So it's been really enjoyable, actually. You know, I know a lot of coaches tend to keep the same group round about them, and look, it's up to different people. Yeah. But I felt it was good to get a freshness, you know, and bringing it to the club, because you know, at times you can get bored of your own voice, never mind voices. Yeah. So it was good to do that. So I brought Gordon in, and then after a couple of months, we brought Lee McCulloch in as well. So a few people might know Lee's ex-Rangers in Scotland, but again, I didn't know Lee. I obviously knew of him, but I didn't know him as a person. Never really met him, never spoke to him. So again, he brought in a bit of freshness as well again. So it's worked out very well.
And just to kind of wrap up here, guys, how are things going for you just now during this interim phase with, you know, the coronavirus and all that stuff? What kind of things are you doing? I'm sure you're busy trying to, you know, look at strategy of how do you get back on the pitch? How do you keep the players fit? How do you plan for next year? How do you look at pre-season? I'm sure both of you have got a lot on your plate. You know, this is certainly not downtime, because you've got the excitement, you've gotten where you wanted to get to. But how is your day-to-day right now, both of you?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, the positive of us being awarded the championship with 8 games still to play was bittersweet. You know, we were wanting to try and finish the games. We want to exceed our points tally. We were wanting to try and get the fans to see us win a trophy at our stadium. But that said, that went. From a business perspective, we've had to put staff on furlough in order to try and help, because there's no income coming in. But we've been able to put plans in preparation, and Robbie and I, funnily enough, even yesterday were 3 hours on planning, preparing. You know, Robbie is a coach, and you know, he's on this call, but I'll have to bum him up a bit, because he's very, very dedicated to the finer details. And you know, we were talking even yesterday about setting up his new office and the type of colour of his sofa that he's going to get in there. You know, so it's all the good thing is, you know.
Wait. Is it black or orange?
One's black and one's orange. Yeah, he's got the biggest plasma. So no, but I think what the positive for this has given us time to reflect, review everything we've done, and really which we've done, and prepare properly for how we're going to do, when it's recruitment, whether it's you know, things like what our facilities are going to look like, how our personnel, what we're going to add to the staff. Our players obviously all on furlough, they're all long contracted, so that's given us a wee bit of ease. And you know, our season tickets went on sale last Saturday, and they've excelled the cost, and so I think it's a record now for our season tickets. So yeah, look, there's positives, and the unknown is we'll prepare back to when we should be back normally, and we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah. Robbie, what about yourself, just to wrap up here? You know, how's your day-to-day looking just now? And I'm sure, you know, as Tony said, you're a detail guy. In fact, I sat in on one of your recruitment meetings when I was over in early February, and it was fascinating to watch the dynamic between both of you. And there was some heavy detail going on there. But what about yourself, Robbie? How's your day-to-day just now?
The day-to-day just now is I'll speak to Tony pretty much every day. We'll have a chat about things. Some days it's half an hour, some days it's 2 or 3 hours. We are at the moment preparing the pre-season. So we've decided, obviously nobody knows when we're going to get back. We've aimed for the 25th of May. So what we're doing a 2-week block, and then we'll give the players a week off, kind of 5th of June. And then we'll come back in and get ready for the Betfred Cup. So the first 2 weeks are getting planned. We spoke to the sports scientist. He's given us a physical periodisation. So we'll implement that into the tactical periodisation, put the stuff together, and we'll make a decision about how we'll train and what we're going to do. From a kind of day-to-day basis, speak to Lee McCulloch, Gordon Forrest regularly, you know, just about, you know, what we're doing, what the plans are and things like that. So it's been it's actually probably been busier.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, generally when you're in a closed season, everything's ready, you're just talking about recruitment, pre-season's all sorted. At this moment in time, we're having to be quite reactive to things as well. Although we're planning, it's 2 or 3 different plans that we're running off. You know, even yesterday, Tony and I were speaking about the budget. You know, we're talking about budget A, budget B, budget C.
Yeah.
You know, player A, player B, player C, depending on how long this crisis and the pandemic and the lockdown in Britain lasts. So it's been tougher, but it's also like even just these kind of meetings.
Yeah.
Being able to do this nowadays, it's a whole new world to me. That was always a kind of standard face-to-face meeting. If you get me on the phone, you're getting me on the phone for like 2 or 3 minutes. It's like, right, this is what we're doing, all right, see you later. But now we're communicating more. So I'm hoping that I can take a lot of stuff I've learned within this kind of crisis into the coaching career as we go forward, because it's definitely opened up a lot of options for even talking cross Atlantic.
Exactly. And what about you, finally, Robbie? What about you staying in touch with players and keeping them in the right place? Do you check in regularly, or do you have a routine, or do the players have a routine?
Well, the players at the moment, the players are on their closed season plan, so we've given them a few weeks just to go and, you know, do their own thing, and then they'll slowly build up. They'll have a couple of sessions when they can go and do it. Obviously, they're on furlough at the moment, so it's up to them if they want to do it. You know, so it's optional. So it's up to them if they want to train. But the boys are, you know, I've got a really, really good group at the moment. You know, really pleased with recruitment, good characters within it, and we know that when we do come back, whenever that is, then, you know, I'm sure they'll be in good condition.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic, guys. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure joining you today, and thanks for being with us. Great to hear, you know, the excitement of what next year brings, and the excitement of just the American flavour of what you've got going on there. Tony, as always, great to see you, and brings back too many memories. And Robbie, brilliant to drop in on you again, and great to catch up with you both, and you know, stay well, and best of luck for next year. But thanks for being with us, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Best wishes to you all. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Cheers.